Aha! Can you hear me now? All right. Sorry about that, everyone. I realized earlier that you were going to be getting my microphone over the intro screen, so I thought I'd change that, and I thought it would just be for that one thing, but apparently it was for everything. Anyway, hi and welcome to Drinking with Dana. And if that might be a signifier of how the show goes this week. Um, so thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you, Bojack, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, for following. I really appreciate that. Um, so a couple things. Lori says apparently we need to get directly to the drinking, and Winter Vespers agrees. And I don't think that's wrong, but unfortunately I got a little bit of business to take care of first. So if you saw the video I put up earlier, I guess it was last week, I was asking for feedback on basically the scheduling for the show, what time would work better, when more people could actually show up and watch. And it sounds like if we shift things by an hour later, more people should be able to tune in. So, starting with the next episode, I'm going to start at 6 o'clock Pacific time, and we're going to try that for a while and see if more people can actually make it. If that doesn't work, we might try shifting to a different day. I'm thinking Monday, but for right now, because I've sort of scheduled around doing these on Wednesdays, I'm going to stick to Wednesday for now. But so the next show, which is going to be our Halloween Spooktacular, will be taking place on October 19th, and that will start again at 6 p.m. instead of 5, so an hour later. And the reason I'm doing that that week is because the 2 Wednesdays after that is after Halloween. If I had shifted to Monday, it would have been on Halloween, but since my beautiful wife Lori and my anniversary is on the 27th, and it's a big one this year. It's our 20th anniversary. We're going to be celebrating that and just kind of taking a break and enjoying Halloween. So I think that's about all the news. Halloween Spooktacular on the 19th. I'm going to be doing pumpkin seeds and hot apple cider and possibly and a third or second drink, which I haven't quite decided on yet, but I'll be doing that. Oh, I'm still planning on at some point doing a bunch of very short shows that are just like 2 ingredient drinks or 2 ingredient appetizers, just to get to the point where I can monetize the channel on Twitch. I'll let you know when that's happening. Follow me on my Twitter, and I'll let you know everything going on. I'll try and also give a quick warning on YouTube as well. We're up to 25 subscribers there, quarter of the way to getting a decent name. Winter Vespers says that she totally loves my fall shirt. Thank you very much. I love this shirt myself. I have no idea where I got it. I actually forgot that I had gotten it, and I was just going through my t-shirts and found it. I was like, I must wear this all the time now because I do love it so much. All right, all that out of the way. Let's get to the first drink, which will probably be the most sort of normal part of the show today, and I'll get into that in a bit. So the cocktail we're doing is called The Last Word, so of course I'm doing it first. And, excuse me, just a second here. We have a guest for this part. This is Lily. She is the smaller of our 2 cats, and she will be helping me with the introduction of this drink. So the Last Word is was thought to be a Prohibition era cocktail. It's actually a pre-Prohibition era cocktail from the Detroit Athletic Club. No one really knows who invented it there, and it had kind of, information about it was kind of sketchy. The person who sort of rediscovered it and first wrote about it in sort of the 1916 time frame, about a little bit after it had been invented. Oh wait, it was invented in 1916, but they started talking about it during Prohibition times. Was a vaudevillian monologuist, and that's basically the precursor to a stand-up comedian. And they're kind of wondering if that's how it got its name. So, let's see. Oh, yeah, it was already offered on the clubs in the Detroit Athletic Club's 1916 menu for a grand price of 35 cents, which is about $8.22 in 2019 currency. And there goes Lily. And it was the club's most expensive cocktail at the time. So prices have gone up since then. It kind of fell out of favor during World War II, but it was rediscovered in about 2004 by Murray Stenson at the Zigzag Club here in Seattle. So local bartender makes good there. I've never been to the Zigzag Club before, but I took a look at their menu when I was doing the research for this, and I may have to go. It looks incredible. All right, so the last word is kind of the template for a few other drinks, one of which is called the Final Ward, which is, I believe, a bourbon-based version. It substitutes out the gin for bourbon and the lime juice for the lemon juice, and I can't remember what else it changes out. But it's basically, the template is 4 things in equal parts, one of them being a citrus juice, if I remember correctly. There are a few other drinks like that, but this is the original, and it's, in my opinion, one of the better ones. It's a really good drink, really complicated, or I should say complex, not overpoweringly bitter or anything like that. It's I wouldn't exactly call it approachable, but it's a good drink. Now, I do try and only use ingredients that most folks are going to have on hand. I'm fudging that a little bit. Chartreuse, green chartreuse is one of the ingredients here. It's used in a lot of drinks. There are 2 kinds of chartreuse, green and yellow. Both are herbal liqueurs that have a ton of flavors to them, and not a bad thing to have on hand. It's basically, once you get your home bar established, it's about, it's the second step. It's mid-tier things you want to start acquiring. Because, like I say, a lot of drinks do use it. Which is also true for maraschino. I'm using Luxardo Maraschino. And there is, and I'm probably mispronouncing it. I always call it maraschino. It might be maraschino or something like that. It is how you make actual maraschino cherries. If you saw the ones I used for my my Manhattan, those are actual maraschino cherries, or maraschino cherries, actually made with maraschino liqueur and all that. It's a liqueur made from crushing this one certain kind of cherry, complete with the pits and all of that. So it is cherry flavored. It's not a special, well, it's sweet, but it's not super duper sweet. And if you try some, it does not taste like the cherry that you're used to. So, yeah, and then I'm just using my Ryan Reynolds gin and some lime juice. Speaking of which, let's get to that. So, starting off with the lime juice. Always use fresh lime juice when you can. I'm going to do my little trick with using the top of the shaker as a funnel. Oh, and I should be reading the comments. Anani Nos, thank you for joining. Oh, and so there's some comments in the chat about the band, the Delstroyers. Their bassist is a good friend of mine, And amazing guy, amazing bass player. The whole band is fantastic. I've seen their live shows a few times, and they are just fantastic. Their albums are on Bandcamp, and they just do really fun surf music, and very. They go for sort of a spooky theme to it, so, which is perfect for this time of year. All right. So that's about 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Now, because these are all equal parts, this is an easy cocktail to scale up or scale down. I'm only doing 3/4 of an ounce of each of these just because it's both drinks I'm doing today are going to be pretty hard hitting. So, and Anonymous says, "Hey Dana, oh it's Matt. Hi Matt, good to see you." He's going to be making dinner while watching, which I'm flattered by. Anytime people are enjoying a meal or preparing a meal or something while hanging out with us here is a sign of that you find this good, comfortable watching, which is what I'm going for. All right, I've now distracted myself. Oh yeah, the Del Destroyer, excellent band, perfect music for this time of year. Check them out. Right, we've got 3/4 of an ounce. Oh, that was what I was going to say. Scaling up and down the last word. I normally I think make these with an ounce of each, and that's and that's about a standard martini glass or coupe glass, but I'm only doing 3/4 of an ounce this time, just because both drinks are pretty hard hitting, and I want to be able to keep my feet under me. Beautiful. If you could turn down the volume on your speakers a little bit, it's echoing all the way down here, and I don't want to get feedback for everyone. All right. So 3/4 of an ounce of maraschino or maraschino, however you pronounce that. I actually looked up one of the other ingredients for tonight. I should have looked up that one too. And then. And it does smell like maraschino cherries, but the good ones. All right, so now chartreuse, which it smells kind of medicinal. I'm not gonna lie, but if you've ever had it by itself, it's kind of wild. It's I don't know. I don't like it on its own. Although I have drunk it by itself, and it's good, but it's amazing in drinks like this. And if you're wondering about that color, it is actually that green. It's not the bottle doing that. It's so it looks and smells a little bit like really good mouthwash, I think. I don't know. All right. So that's all there is to it. No garnishes, no rimming, nothing like that. I am going to put some ice in here and shake it up, and we'll talk about it then. So, all right. I'm going to do this in a coupe. Alright, you don't have to double strain this or anything. And actually this just about does fill up the coupe. Yeah, actually I might not scale that up. Maybe that's why I decided on 3/4 in the first place. Alright. So let me put it in front of the camera. Let's see if the camera is working today. Let's see. There we go. So sort of right now it's freshly shaken, so it's a little bit frothy. That's what's giving it that opacity. But it's the color of lime juice, just faintly green because of the both the lime juice and the chartreuse, but not like a neon green or anything you would think about that way. So let me go back. And first time chatter, Mr. Putney, if I'm pronouncing that, again, if I'm pronouncing your names wrong, let me know. Says that they're ready to drink. This week has been something else, and I agree. So cheers. All right, let's give it a try. Again, you get that sort of, for lack of a better term, almost like cherry pits smell of the maraschino right off the bat, but again with the medicinal herbal smell of the chartreuse in it. So, how do I describe this flavor? Let me take another sip and give that a go. So you're hit originally with sort of a bracing, almost minty flavor. Not, I want to say it's actually more menthol, if that's the appropriate word. Not, I'm assuming not like cigarettes. I've never smoked, but it's a very, very a tart mint, if that makes sense. And then that's it's sort of lime mint, lime menthol combined, I guess, at first, and then that fades into a little bit more of the cherry flavor. And then a little bit more of the lime citrus, and it just you can't pick out any distinct. I mean, you can pick out a little bit of the cherry when it comes to the fore, and you pick out a little bit of the chartreuse when it comes to the fore, but they all intermingle and temper one another. So chartreuse by itself is a lot. It is a lot of flavor all at once. But here the lime is tempering that out. But lime is a lot all by itself, but the sweetness from the maraschino is tempering that. But the cherry would be a lot on its own. And the gin, which you think is actually a little bit lost in all of this, is kind of tempering everything else and bringing up the back end. The herbs, the herbal flavors from the gin are will come out a little bit with the chartreuse. They'll play in amongst each other. All in all, it's just a lovely little drink, surprisingly simple. It does have a couple of sort of medium rare, uncommon items for your bar, but if you have them, you will use them. It opens up a lot of other drinks, and this is a nice one to have. So that is that. And now as I clean up, we're gonna move on to the food, which is gonna be bruschetta this week. But while I'm doing that, does anyone out there have any questions for me about that drink, or what's going on, or how I've been? Come up with something to say while I'm doing this, because otherwise it's just me cleaning up my kitchen, and that does not necessarily make good television or good viewing. So, all right. Let's see. Winter Vespers asks, "How is my thumbnail feeling?" All right. Oh, that is a lovely topic. So uh, for those of you not on the Transverse or who don't read the Style channel there, um, I have been growing out my fingernails nice and long because I'm a girl and that's a thing I can do. And just because I haven't really had to do much yard work lately, they've been getting longer and longer, and I've just been enjoying that. And my thumbnail was one of the longest nails I had, and the other day I was doing something and it tore just a little bit, and that was not pleasant, but it happens. But Lori, my lovely wife, suggested that I try and repair it. And there's this technique you can use with a piece of tea bag and some super glue or nail glue and all that. And so I went through the procedure and it turned out great. It absolutely looked fantastic. The only problem is, and I showed it all around to everyone. It's like, look at this cool new technique that saved my thumbnail from breaking off, which lasted until about yesterday afternoon when it started tearing again, and then about an hour before the show, it came off entirely. So, not to be too disgusting, I took it off entirely so it wouldn't end up in the food. Let's put it that way. Anyway, so sorry, I forgot to get a couple things out. So that's what she's asking about. My thumbnail is doing fine. It's much, much shorter. I think that after the show, I might after the nail polish chips off, I might cut the rest of them a bit shorter. Just because that way I can type better. All right, so bruschetta. Let me let's switch this over. There it is. All right, and put us on food now. All right, bruschetta. So this is a dish that goes back to the 15th century in Italy. For those of you who've been watching my show for a while, you'll know that I did the Insalata Caprese skewers. That's Insalata Caprese turns out is a modern take. I thought they were basically the same root, and maybe that was a take on bruschetta, but it was developed in the 15th century in Italy, basically as a way to use up bread that was going stale, which it's still used for today. Technically, with this recipe, all you need are to cut the bread, brush some olive oil on it, and rub some garlic on that, and then toast it. And that's bruschetta. But that's not terribly interesting. It's tasty, but it's not terribly interesting. So a bunch of different styles of bruschetta have been invented. You can put just about anything on it. You can put salami on it. You can put beans on it. Cannelli beans, I think, are one of the favorite ones. This is one that if you order bruschetta in your average restaurant, it's going to be a lot closer to this. This actually is a variation on one that we used to get at a local pizzeria here called Tutabella. And you'll note that on the recipe, I didn't put any quantities. And that's because this is all to taste. I'll show you in general how to do it, but you can make as much or as little as you want. Literally, for the number of tomatoes I'm using here, I just picked everything that was left on our vines outside. Everything that was ripe that was out there. You can add more or less garlic. You can add more or less, basil. I'll show you roughly what I'm doing, and then just add more or less to taste. This is, and like I say, you can leave off the fresh mozzarella if you don't like it, or add it in. You can, add other things if you like. Let's see. Okay. So, Anoninos says, I'm not much of a drinker, really, but fruity drinks can bypass that, so the drink I made looks interesting. And he doesn't like cherry flavored things. I would say there's a little bit too much cherry in this. This is not, I would not describe this as a fruity drink. This is more herbal and spicy and yeah, there is the lime and there is the cherry and all that, but it is a very complicated drink or complex drink. I would not necessarily say it's incredibly approachable. It's not a really fruity drink. Anonymous is actually a good friend of ours. He actually comes up here and stays at our place about once a year. So Matt, next time you're up here, I will make this for you, or I'll make one and you can have some of it. Hmm. Um, right. So this is sort of made in a couple of parts. The first thing I'm going to do, actually I'm going to rearrange this a little bit, is cut up a bunch of cherry tomatoes. And actually, I'll show you what I've got here. This dish. There we go. I've got some basil, I've got some tomatoes, and I've got a clove of garlic, which I may not use all of because it was a really big one. And so I'm just going to take these tomatoes and start cutting them up. And I'm going to cut them up pretty fine because what we're going to do is basically I'm going to make up a mixture of those three things, and then I'm going to make some small thin slices of bread and put it in the oven to toast, and then put the mixture over the top of it. And that's pretty much all there is to this. Now, normally I actually do this, toast the bread and actually melt the mozzarella on the grill. But since I haven't figured out how to film out there yet, we're doing it in the oven, which, now here's the thing. I've only ever done it in the oven once, so here's hoping I don't burn it. You all have to remind me to set timers and stuff. So, alright. So, how are you all doing? I told you to ask me how I was doing. How are you all doing? I know people have said it has been a week, and I concur on that. It's been busy. I actually made, 10 4-ounce jars of huckleberry jam this morning after going out and picking those. And if you've ever picked Northwest huckleberries, you know exactly how long picking that many huckleberries takes. So for those unfamiliar, Northwest huckleberries have an incredible flavor to them, but are about half the size of a pea, maybe smaller, and tend to grow in clusters where only a few of them get ripe at a time. So you have to not only go through, and then also they tend to cling to their stems pretty tightly. So when you pick them, you have to take them home and clean them, and then get all the stems off and all of that. So, Ananias is a different mat than the one I was thinking of. I was wondering, okay, because that other mat usually goes with Silver Streak or something like that. And he also does like to drink, I thought. I actually was thinking at some point of doing his famous Matt Garitas. So yes, okay. Hi Matt, sorry I got confused with who you were, and if you do like cherry and complex drinks, then yeah, maybe that's the one for you. The other Matt does not like cherry flavored anything and has a very strong distaste to it for very good reasons, granted. All right. Okay. So yes. Usually, if I was doing this by myself, I'd just turn on the radio and sort of tune out while I cut up cherry tomatoes. And I may not cut up all of those just because you sitting here watching me do this is not going to be the most entertaining thing in the world, but we'll get as much done as we can. Let's see. Yes. Lori says that the reason why the other Matt doesn't like those flavors is because he's allergic to cherries. So he doesn't even like anything that's artificially cherry flavored, even though he's not necessarily allergic to that. He's only allergic to actual cherries. So, and I don't know. I'm just gonna keep yammering because this is good voice practice for me. You might notice as I go along that my voice goes up and down in tone and pitch and all that. And that's because I am still working on my femme voice. So I'm trying to do all the right things and project in the right ways and so on and so forth. But then I get busy doing stuff and I forget. And so I revert back and then I catch myself and I correct myself. And so that's why my voice is always all over the place, in case you were wondering. Winter Vesper says the huckleberries sound a lot like wild blueberries, which tend to grow in their part of the world. And yeah, so we do get wild blueberries up in the mountains. I've actually, there have been a few times where I've gone on hikes, well, back when I was younger, and we just graze on alpine strawberries and wild blueberries, and it's amazing. The huckleberries, black huckleberries, grow more at ground level here, but are actually smaller than that. These are tiny, so if you can believe that, and so yeah, they're really good, but they're a lot of work, which is why you'll never see them in stores. Because they're not commercially grown, because they're not easy to harvest. I used to, when we were growing up, my grandmother had a place over on Vashon, and we used to go over there, and it had tons of woods on it, and every year we'd pick a ton of wild huckleberries, and my mom would make all sorts of things with them, usually pies and that kind of thing. So I now go out and just find them where I can, because the ones that I planted in our yard never get watered enough to really produce much. But the city that I live in has been planting them as basically decorative plants, and they've been watering them enough that they actually produce gorgeous huckleberries. And so I picked enough for some jam, and I picked enough for a pie at Thanksgiving, and a couple extra, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do with except freeze right now. So, but yeah, since the last time we spoke, I did that, and I also picked all the apples off of our tree and turned those into juice and all that stuff. It's getting to be that's the thing about autumn around here, is that it's harvest season if you like to scavenge blackberries and huckleberries and grow apples and that sort of thing. Actually, it's really late for us to be still having tomatoes and basil and all of that, but we had basically the whole year has just been sort of shifted like a month backwards. So, all right, so these are my tomatoes. I diced them up so that they're either in eighths or quarters, or even just half, depending on how big they were. And now I'm going to dice up some garlic to put in there. Again, if you don't like garlic, you don't have to. If you do like garlic, you can add more. Somewhere in between. I used to think I was allergic to garlic, actually. It's a long story there, but turns out the reason why whenever I had garlic, I got these terrible headaches and just did not feel well at all was because I was always had like big amounts of fresh garlic or even just baked garlic or something like that when I was with my old college friends up at one of their mountain cabin, and we were drinking like fish up there, and could perhaps have been that we were dehydrated from skiing and all that, and then also drinking, and I was like, oh yeah, this garlic is really getting to me. Couldn't be anything else that we were doing. So I'm dicing the garlic as fine as I possibly can. As I said, the original version of this, what you'd want to do is just rub the garlic over the toasted bread, but I prefer it, frankly, that's a lot of work, so I'm just dicing it up and mixing it in with the tomatoes. And and also don't do what I'm doing with rubbing your fingers along the blade of your knife. That's not very bright of me, I know. All right, so Ska says that those sound very good, which excellent. And thank you, Strawberry Shortcake. And Anonymous says, I don't think I've actually gotten to try huckleberry. A few years back when they visited the Pacific Northwest, I had gotten a jar of jam to bring home, but it ran afoul to the TSA. Oh, that is tragic. So that, yeah, no, huckleberry stuff, huckleberry jam is good stuff. Yeah, it's... Right, alright, so, basil. Oh, and like I say, on the East Coast, they do have huckleberries there, but they are more akin to blueberries. So, I've got about, I want to say 6 large basil leaves. I'm just going to roll them up and chiffonade them, which means just cutting them into very fine strips. And I'll probably dice them up a little bit more after that. It's just a regular, I just want to get them into small pieces. And yes, if you've seen my earlier shows, I normally probably would have used scissors for this, but I already have the knife dirty, so I'll just use that. And by the way, the reason why you're hearing clacking noises every time I cut stuff, it's because I have my cutting board on an uneven surface. Let's put it that way. All right, so tomatoes, garlic, and basil are all there. You can grab a spoon to stir that together so that the flavors can start intermingling a little bit. Like I say, this is, very much a do it to your own taste. If you want more tomato and less basil, or less basil and, or rather, more garlic and more basil and very little tomato, you can do that. You can add whatever you think is good. You go to a restaurant and they serve you bruschetta with, the beans on it. Go ahead and do that too. It's whatever makes you happy on this one. So that's what it looks like when you're done, or when I'm done anyway. And I'm just going to set that aside and clean this off a bit. So as you can see, I only used about half of the clove of garlic just because I didn't want to do too much. And I'll clean this up later. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to set the knife aside and we're going to cut our bread. Now, just a regular everyday baguette. Got it at the store this afternoon, just because the one that I had that I was going to use, which was literally left over from our dinner the other night, had started to go bad. So I just, but it's, if it hadn't started to go bad, would have been perfect for this. So I'm gonna start cutting at a bit on an angle, and the reason why I'm doing that, and I'm just gonna cut off sort of the heel here first. The reason why I'm doing this is because it makes the slices of bread wider than the baguette actually is. So here, I'll show you in just a second here. And yes, I do need to sharpen all my knives. And you want to cut these about a quarter to a half an inch thick. But yeah, so here. So yeah, by cutting it on the angle like that, you can actually make it wider than the normal width of the bread. So that's all I'm doing here. I don't know if that, I didn't actually look at the or at the screen to see if that was good. If that all got shown on camera, but all right. And so let's see. Yeah, a friend of ours who's been in the audience for a couple of these shows said that this is a lot like showing up at one of our parties when I haven't actually gotten everything done before the guests arrive, and he was not wrong. It's me tap dancing and trying to do something while keeping folks entertained. Yeah, that's about right. So I'm not going to do as many of these as I normally would, much to Lori's chagrin, because she loves these. But just trying to get this done so we have time for the next drink. Speaking of drinks, why have I not been drinking mine? It's a lovely drink. All right. So I'm gonna call that good. One more. One more on here. So I've got a lot of the topping here. And of course, this is the one I kind of messed up a little bit. All right. So what I'm doing, I'll put the rest of it here for now. I need to brush some olive oil on all of these. And it doesn't have to be especially fancy olive oil, just this is Trader Joe's olive oil. Other olive oils are available. And I've got a little silicone brush here. I'm just gonna take it and brush it on the top. And it'll turn a little bit yellow from that, and that's how you know it's working. And what this is going to do is allow, basically the oil will heat up a little bit easier than just the bread itself will, and it will crisp up the top while letting the bottom stay nice and soft. You know, which is admittedly more important when you're using the grill than just using the oven, but it helps here too. Also, it's just a key ingredient in the dish. It's apparently, this dish was for a long time used to test new batches of olive oil as it came in. They would make a batch of bruschetta, the kind with just the garlic and the olive oil, and then they would use that to judge how good of an olive oil it was. So there are other ways to get the olive oil on here. You could honestly soak it a little bit, but that gets a lot of oil on. It depends on how much you like olive oil, I guess. I tend to just like to brush it on the top, just, you know, to save calories if nothing else. I am not the most slender of ladies, so. All right, so I am going to stick these in an oven. Now you can't really see my oven from that angle. Sorry about that. But I'm going to put the rack all the way up to the top, like I forgot to do. And then I'm going to stick it directly under the burner. It's a cold oven right now, so I'm just going to turn on the broil. Now, this is not the reason why there's no times for this, because everyone's oven is different. It's going to, how long it takes to toast these is going to vary for everyone. You want them just to start turning brown when you stick them in, or when you take them out of the oven. So I'm going to do that. In this oven, going from a cold oven, it takes about 2 minutes. And I'm actually remembering to do the timer this time. So while that's cooking, I am going to grab another little dish. I'm going to take some of these little fresh mozzarella balls. You can use any size and shape of mozzarella balls for this. And just cut them into little slices. These were on sale, so I got the little tiny balls, and they work really well for the baguette that I'm doing. But you can use, like I say, any size, just thin slices, and when these come out, we're going to put them on top, put it back in the oven, and melt it down a little bit, just so that we have that melted mozzarella flavor on there. And let's see. Now, the one problem with this dish, it's not a real great, well, it's good for parties. It's best when it's hot, like fresh out of the oven. And so if you're going to use it for a party, make sure you serve it as close to the time as possible. You can make up the tomato mixture ahead of time, but the bread you're going to have to toast pretty much right then. So, and actually making up the tomato mixture a little bit ahead of time, so it has some time to come together, all the flavors come together, is not a bad idea. And of course you can also just toss your cheese straight into the mixture there. All right, so I think that should be enough. Set this off to the side for a minute, wash my hand, and time to take our bread out. All right. So last time I did this, I'll hold one up so you can see, but it is just starting to crisp up at the edges here. Not super crisp, but not really that crisp at all. Just starting to warm up, starting to get a little crispy. I'm now going to put the cheese on top, just enough so that it's roughly covered. Let's see. Well, yeah, let's do 2 on that one. Like I say, these are small little things, so you can get 2 to 4 of them on there, depending on the size of the bread or the slice, where you sliced it in the loaf. And then we're going to put it back in. Now the oven's still heating this whole time I do this, so it's going to be pretty darn hot by the time I get back. These are only going to have to go in for about 30 seconds when I'm done, or when they're ready to go in. And that will be that. Well, there's a little bit more after that. And I underestimated how many slices of cheese I need. So let's grab a couple more. Like I say, this is one of those recipes where it really is just a pinch of this and a dash of that, and that's how we like it. Once you figure out how you like it done, you feel free to write those measurements down. But in my opinion, everyone's tastes are a little bit different anyway, and so you just just do what you have on hand, do what sounds good to you at the time. This is one where you can play around a little bit, and it's not going to hurt it in any way. This is not baking. This is this is an appetizer that you can just really kind of toss together. If you have any tomatoes or basil at all, and not even you don't even really need those all that much, but it's right. Anyway, yes, putting stuff on little slices of bread is a classic party hors d'oeuvre. Okay, all sorts of comments going on there. Stick these in here for 30 seconds. So by the time I get this timer up to 30 seconds, it'll probably be 30 seconds. All right. So, Ska says that she loves the colors. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's similar to the Ensalada Caprice. The red, green, and white, and in this case yellow, and basically all the colors of the fall, the tomatoes make it a very good fall dish. Winter Vesper says, in my opinion, the best cooking shows are more like the reality at home, where timers get forgotten, mistakes are made, and life is lived. That's something I loved about Julia Child. Wow, that is a high compliment, because I forget to turn on the timer all the time. All right, so it is just starting to go here, and that looks just about perfect. So I am going to, I don't think I am anywhere near in the category of Julia Child, but yeah, these turned out pretty well. So what we're going to do is, but yes, the whole point of the show is you get to see all the mistakes, you get to see how long it actually takes to do things, you get to see all the little steps in between. So I am very flattered and very happy you picked up on what I'm laying down. But speaking of Julia Child, oh my God, that woman was amazing. If you ever get a chance, read or watch some of the shows about her early life, the things she did as an ambassador's wife, and even before then, she did very amazing things. So, cheese on bread, spoon, and we just dish some of this up over the top, spread it around so we have enough to cover all of these, and I'm probably, because I'm rushing this, not going to get it quite evenly distributed, but obviously you'll want to do that. And now there is a bunch of juice at the bottom of this because those tomatoes were really juicy. And it is entirely up to you if you want to pour that over or use it as a dipping sauce or just ignore it entirely. Some of it is getting caught up in the spoon here, some of it is not. I prefer them to be a little less soggy so they're easier to pick up, but a little bit of juice going in and combining with the olive oil and everything else is certainly not going to go amiss. All right, so there we go. This is more. I was saying earlier, it's not really a party thing. This is more of a, having a few friends over for some cards or a game or something like that. This is the kind of thing you'd serve for that, or maybe a night where you and your spouse are just watching movies and want a few hors d'oeuvres to snack on while you watch, that kind of thing. But this is how it looks. And try not to tilt it over there. And I will let you know how it tastes. I mean, it's bread with mozzarella and olive oil and tomatoes and garlic, and it tastes like fall in Italy, is what it tastes like. It is, Ska asked to pass one there, and I would love to. Oh, Thorac, Thorac 67, I believe. My eyes are terrible. I believe that is the other Matt that we were talking about. Apparently, he heard his name earlier and was summoned. Mm-hmm. All right, and I'm gonna scroll up, see if I can scroll up a little bit here, messing things up because I missed some of chat. Oh, come on. Nope, apparently I cannot do that. Something about oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, Matt did say Thorak says I love the Julie and Julia movie. Awesome stuff. I actually have not watched that one. I do need to watch it. And also, thank you, Matt, for following. Thank you, Thorak, for following. Winter Vesper says that she used to watch her show on TV a lot, that she misses that show. She did a lot of amazing things in terms of elevating American cooking, American cuisine, largely by bringing over French cuisine, but by doing it in a way that showed that the average person could do it, which is incredible. That is a gift to humanity. I am a big believer that feeding people is one of the most important things we can do. So, all right. I could just sit here and eat all of this and drink the rest of this drink, and I'm sorely tempted to do that. So, Lori, if you're still watching, do you want to come in here and grab a giant plate of bruschetta for yourself? In the meantime, I'm just going to set this right out of shot where she can grab it if she'd like, without having to worry about being presentable for camera. And then I will tidy up. Winter Vesper says I should watch that movie. It's just a joy. I believe it. I absolutely do believe it. I think it's. I heard about the book. Well, I heard about the book when it was being. So for those who don't know, the book Julie and Julia, if it's the one I'm thinking of, details this woman's. She basically decided to, for various plot-related reasons, to make each and every recipe in, was it The Joy of French Cooking, which is Julia Child's book on French cooking, and it's intertwined with, at least in the movie, I believe it is in the book, intertwined with Julia Child's life story and things going on in her life at the same time that mirror what was going on in this woman's life. And so it's just a really incredible story. I remember hearing about it when she was actually doing that project. She was on NPR, I think, and then they had her on again when the book finished up and was published. And then, of course, it got turned into a movie, etc. So yeah, it's one of those ones where I was like, I really need to watch this, and other things kept happening, and I kept not doing it, and I ended up it slipped off my radar. All right, so let's get to the last drink, and this is going to take some explanation. Oh, one thing I forgot to do with the bruschetta. Sprinkle some rock salt, coarse sea salt over the top of it. Here, let me bring this back and do that. Very important. The coarse sea salt will not only bring out all of the flavors, because that's what salt does, but also if you get it right after sprinkling this on, then you occasionally get a little bit of crunchiness from that salt mixed in as well. It also brings out, like I say, the juices and the flavors from all of the other ingredients. So, also, don't feel bad about buying a bag of coarse salt for garnishing special things or something like that. If it's depending on how expensive it is, some of those are kind of rip-offs. But I have had this bag of red Hawaiian sea salt, coarse sea salt, for I want to say probably 30 to 40 years. No, not 40 years, but at least 30 years. It was a gift from my parents from one of their trips when I was in college, which was a long time ago. Let's just leave it at that. So yes, a little bit of sea salt over the top makes it even better. I was wondering what was. I mean, it's good even without the sea salt. I like it with it better. Mmm. That really brings out the tanginess in the tomatoes a lot more. Yeah. All right. Drink number 2. I ran a mouthful of food. By the way, Ogre Marco is here. Hi, Ogre and Mickey. They're running a little late today, but that's how things happen. Thorak does say, I usually get kosher coarse salt. I do too. For 90% of things, I use kosher salt. I actually have a salt cellar over there. I'm not going to dig it out, but that's what I normally use for everything. But I do have a few small containers of seasoning, of sort of finishing salts. Like I have some smoked sea salt that I love to use on deviled eggs, that sort of thing. So don't worry about those. They will last you forever as long as you have space to store them. They're great. So all right, on to the final drink. Now, when I make drinks on this show, it's usually one that I have had and love, and it's something I want to share with everyone because I think it's a great cocktail, and then I go back and I look up the history of it and all that. But I was trying to think of a third, the second cocktail for this show, and I was talking with Winter Vespers. She was on the last show, and we were talking for a while. And then she's also on the Transverse Discord. If you are a trans person or an ally or questioning anything about your gender, the Transverse Discord service is an incredible place to be. I do game TTRPG streaming with them on their Twitch channel and so on. Great organization. Anyway, we were chatting there, and I asked about her name. And I said, does it have anything to do with the Vesper Martini? And she said no, but it made me think, hey, Vesper Martini, that's something I should do. I've never had one before, but it's kind of a shame that I haven't had one before. I really should have one of these, because this is the James Bond Martini, and I'm a big James Bond fan. I could tell stories about some of Lori and my first dates, watching James Bond movie marathons, but I'm not going to get into that right now because she's probably watching. And, let's see. Oh, Ember Leo, good to see you. Glad to see you could make it. So, anyway, I've never had the James Bond Martini just because not usually a big fan of martinis. For various reasons, but I always kind of wanted to do it. I was a big fan of the books back in the day, so let me actually explain this. So we all know that James Bond likes his martini shaken, not stirred. He nowadays just orders a vodka martini shaken, not stirred. But in the books, he orders a drink very specifically, and a lot of people think he just sort of made it up on the fly to basically make a big impression on people. So let me actually read that scene here. He says, and I'm not going to do the accent, you're welcome. A dry martini, he said. 1, in a deep champagne goblet. Oui, monsieur. Just a moment. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of Quina Lillet. Shake it very well until it's ice cold, then add a large thin slice of lemon peel. Got it? Certainly, monsieur. The barman seemed pleased with the idea. Gosh, that's certainly a drink, said Leiter. Bond laughed. When I'm, concentrating, he explained, I never have more than 1 drink before dinner, but I do like that one to be large, and very strong, and very cold, and very well made. I hate small portions of anything, particularly when they taste bad. This drink's my own invention. I'm going to patent it when I think of a good name. Well, the name comes from Vesper Lind, who's literally the first Bond girl. Casino Royale was the first of the James Bond books, and she was the love interest in it. And so the Vesper Martini is named for Vesper Lind. I'm not going to spoil how things turn out, but it is named for her. So Vesper, thank you for the inspiration. Winter Vespers there. Let's see if I like this. Now, there are a couple of notes. I am not going to make this exactly how it's written here. Excuse me, I do need to grab one ingredient out of the fridge. Alright, so Quina Lillet is not made anymore. You simply can't get it. There are a few different substitutions. Greg from How to Drink lists, I'm going to mispronounce this and you're going to laugh. It's like, it's not Coochie, but it's like Conchi or something, Americano. And then there's a Quina de Oro, which is, I had never heard of. I actually have had a Quina tonic. Quina has to do with the quinine, which is a ingredient in tonic water. It's what prevents malaria, or at least used to. Most people agree, though, that you should use Lillet Blanc, and that's what I'm going to be using today. The other thing that's different on this is that booze used to be a lot stronger. So when this book was published, he calls for Gordon's gin, which at the time was 94 proof. Nowadays, Gordon's is, I believe, 80 proof, just like all other gin. The vodka of the time was 100 proof. That means it's 50% alcohol, and that is very strong. That's what we call cask strength these days. I can simulate that a bit with, this is peat barreled big gin from Captive Spirits here in Seattle, which is actually 94 proof. Let's see. Ogre says, it's talking about flake salt. Flake salt is really good on Caprice. And then Thorax 67 says, we should bring that back, talking about the strength of alcohol, and there are pluses and minuses to that. Anyway, the gin I'm using is Big Gin. It is 94, it's 47% alcohol, which is 94 proof. I do not use this very often. It was given to me actually by Lucas, if I remember correctly. We were talking about Lucas earlier, the bassist of the Destroyers, who do the theme song to the show. So thank you, Lucas, if you're watching. Some people out there do know him. And then, unfortunately, I don't have a cask strength vodka, but I am using something a little nicer than I have used in the past. This is New Amsterdam vodka. It is 80 proof, 5 times distilled. I'm not even sure. I don't remember why I got it, because I normally use the cheap vodka for just about everything, but we're going to try it here. So, just getting out a couple of last things here. Get the lemon. All right. So, also, I'm only going to make a half of one of these. I am not going to do his full giant could kill a horse cocktail with this, simply because I don't know if I like it or not yet, and I don't want to waste that much booze. But I'll do a half of one of these, and we'll see how it goes. So, and since it's all booze, just, you know, I did not put these in any special order. I just did it the way it's written in the story. So, there's an ounce and a half of big gin, and oh my lord, you can smell tons of juniper in this. Alright, so this is a big, strong gin, which is, I think, what this calls for, so. And now I'm just going to do, and remember I'm having all this, so I'm going to do half an ounce of vodka, but you normally put in an ounce. Alright. Oh, about the whole shaken not stirred thing. So, the reason why you shake some drinks, and this is, by the way, a quarter ounce, a little over a quarter ounce, but about a quarter ounce of Lillet Blanc, and that's being used instead of vermouth in this. Oh, yet another digression, because my brain meds have worn off. If you're like me, you don't use Lillet very often. It's an aperitif. You can drink it on its own. It's a little bitter for me, just not my thing. But every so often, I'll have a recipe that calls for a little bit of it here or there. If you keep it in the refrigerator, it will last for just about ever. If you leave it at room temperature, it will go bad very quickly. So keep drinks, things like that in the fridge. So where was I going with before I got distracted by myself? Oh, so normally with drinks that you want to be nice and clear and that are very spirit forward, like the Manhattan, like martinis, that sort of thing, you normally stir those with ice, and that's doing two things. It is cooling down the drink, but it is doing so with minimal dilution from the ice. When you shake a drink like I did earlier with the last word, when I started drinking it, there were a bunch of little tiny ice chips just floating along the top that passed through the strainer. And all those little tiny ice chips did cool it down really, really well. So it was nice and ice cold, but it was, as you saw, it was opaque. It had a lot of oxidation in it, which is good. But it had a lot more, it was diluted down a little bit, and it had those ice chips, which as they melted, just diluted it down even further. So if you want a martini, which is basically a gin delivery service, and yes, martinis are made with gin, not vodka. I'm not a pedant on it, but if you make a martini with vodka, it should be called a vodka martini. Anyway, it is a gin or vodka delivery service. You don't want to water it down. So, but this specifically calls to be watered down that way. So let's do that. So yeah, just those three things: gin, vodka, and Lillet Blanc. A normal martini, it would be just gin and vermouth, actually, dry vermouth, if I remember correctly, and then either you can turn into a dirty martini with olives and olive brine, or just add a garnish of lemon twist or olives or something like that. My folks always like theirs with a lemon twist. Like I say, I never really got into them. I am just going to use larger cubes on this instead of the crushed ice that I normally use, just to keep the dilution down a little bit. But here we go. I'm shaking a little extra long because Mr. Bond specifies that he wants it very, very cold. And it is getting very, very cold. And this is not going to fill this glass because I specifically did not make a full batch of it. And I am just shaking that to get out the last few drops. Some folks will understand that. And now a nice big piece, or nice peel of lemon. I'm just using a vegetable peeler to do this. And I am... Alright. You want to get as little pith on it as possible, but I did not do a great job of that. And I'm just going to squeeze it in here to express the oils. And that will get all the oils at least to the surface if it didn't actually spray them in there. Okay. All right, let's see if we can see what this looks like. And there we go. Let's see. So, like I say, it doesn't quite fill the glass, but you can get the idea of it. Obviously, you'd want it in a big martini glass normally. I just used a coupe because I'm making it smaller, and you know it's supposed to be in a champagne goblet, which I'm not entirely sure. I assume that's like a champagne coupe where it's opened up a bit. It's been a while since well, actually, I don't think they ever do this exact version in any of the movies, even the recent version of Casino Royale, but... Ogre suggests for people who prefer a nicely cold stirred cocktail, you can refrigerate your mixing vessel or even pop it in the freezer. That is true. You can also do that with your glass as well, because a lot of heat is transferred from the glass into the cocktail when you're pouring. So a lot of people, you'll see a lot of people do that with beer mugs, but also with martinis and that sort of thing. You frequently chill the glass beforehand. Ska says such a dry drink, and well, let's find out. And Ogre also agrees that Lucas is a peach. He is a dear friend, and cheers to Lucas. So, it's not what I was expecting. Wow, okay. So normally when I've had a martini in the past, and I have not had many, but they're just, as I said, a vodka or a gin delivery service. This has more complexity than that. This, give me a minute to work through emotions. Certainly there's a lot of the lemon there because I put in a really big chunk of lemon here. So there's a lot of lemon flavor to it. All right, so there's a little, just faint bit of sweetness from the Lillet Blanc, and that brings out the lemon flavor from the lemon twist a lot. Now, I mentioned that I used Big Gin for its alcohol content. It is peat barreled, so I'm getting that smoky peat flavor to it, which I think if I'd used a different gin, I just would not have been there. And in my opinion, that's an improvement. If you are a big Scotch drinker, you might like that kind of thing in there. Again, that's Big Gin from Captive Spirits in Seattle, Washington. Not a sponsor, but could be if they wanted. So let's see. The alcohol is surprisingly muted for how much there is in here. There is not an alcohol burn to this. And I don't know if that is the quality of the ingredients I'm using, or if the Lillet masks that, or if it's because it's been diluted down by shaking. But normally you'd expect just an alcohol burn to this, and it's not there. And yeah, I have to admit, I was doing this for the reasons I gave earlier. I wanted to sort of thank Winter Vespers, and and she gave me the inspiration for this. But also, it's a James Bond cocktail. I kind of have to do a James Bond cocktail because it's one of the most famous cocktails in the world, even if people don't know the actual version. And I never had one before. I was kind of expecting to hate it because I don't like martinis, and it's actually really good. Is it something I make and order all the time? Probably not. I think I'd still prefer a Manhattan over that, but that's my taste. Um, that's just what I like in a drink. This is a surprisingly good and I might even say approachable drink. Um, hmm. Mm. So, Scott says, "We love your nails." Thank you. I think you came in a little late. We had the whole nail repair discussion about my thumbnails broke off. But thank you. This is my favorite nail polish. If I could get to be a girl for a second, it's OPI's Kazu Melting in the Sun. I love it. It goes with my skirt even. I wear it all the time. I've gone through bottles of it. Ember Leo says, I would think a lot depends on the particular herbal balance of the gin. And that is true, but like I say, I opened that up and I was just hit with a blast of juniper. But that's almost lost in here, despite how much there was there. Now, I've had this particular bottle for years because I don't often have cause for a overproofed peaty gin. I used it to make a gin and tonic once, and that was a mistake. Um, but in something like this, yeah, the peat comes out, but honestly, the juniper is really, if it's there, here. Yeah, no, the juniper is there, but it is, I don't want to say muted, but it's certainly not as overwhelming as I would have expected. Um, so, oh, don't. Emberleo says, but I rarely understand alcohol. Oh wait, I've never understood gin and tonic. That sounds like doubling down to me, but I rarely understand alcohol. So I will make. It's one of those. I've been talking about doing a bunch of short episodes of this just to meet Twitch's arbitrary monetization requirements. And I'm going to make a gin and tonic on one of those the way I and my dad make gin and tonics, which I think is one of the most refreshing drinks in the world. Um, a thing people don't often know is that tonic water is actually sweet. So you actually need to temper that out with a lot of lime juice, in my opinion. And then magic happens. But I'll talk about that on that show. Gin and tonic is an amazing drink, in my opinion. Very refreshing. So, but this is I I am pleasantly surprised with this. So I hope people give it a try sometime. Like I say, Lillet Blanc is not something everyone has on hand, but people do enjoy it just as an aperitif by itself, or as a digestif, I imagine. Um, and it keeps well in the refrigerator. So, um, so I really like it. Emberleo says that head tilt, tonic water did not taste remotely sweet last time I tasted it, but it's been a while. It is surprisingly sweet, but it's masked by the quinine and all the other flavors in it. But if you look at a regular can of tonic water, it has a ton of sugar in it. I actually use diet tonic water for all of mine because I literally can't taste the difference, and why spend the calories if you don't have to? But yeah, there is a lot of sweetness in it, which is why when you have a gin and tonic with lots of lime juice in it, the tonic water stands up to the lime without it being overly tart. So, all right. Well, does anyone else have any questions about any of the drinks, the bruschetta, anything like that? Just some stuff I went over at the beginning when people weren't necessarily here. I'm going to because as we see by all the latecomers tonight, 5 o'clock turned out to be a little too early. I did a video asking for basically for what people's schedules were, and it seems like if I move it to 6, that might work better for a lot of people. So I'm going to give that a try, starting with the next episode, which will be on October 19th. Here, actually, let me go to just that again, which will be on October 19th. And that will be our Halloween Spooktacular. And I will be doing pumpkin seeds and spiced apple cider and something else that I haven't decided on yet, and maybe something else. We'll see what happens. The week after that is 2 weeks after that would be just after Halloween, and I think I'm going to skip that episode just because I kind of need a break, but also Lori and my anniversary is right before Halloween, and then Halloween itself, and there's a lot of stuff going on right there, so I think I'm going to be a little busy, so I'm going to take a week off. So yes, show next, but 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, 6 o'clock, I'll check all the normal places that I'm going to spam with all the ads. And yeah, and that's that. Oh, one other thing I didn't mention before. So let's see. Ogre says, let's get together with all this stupid liquor I've ended up with and make deeply stupid shooters as a video sometime. Sure, that can't possibly be a bad idea. I actually just cleaned out my liquor cabinet with I had some maraschino liqueur, which was this deep cherry red stuff, which I think went bad in the 1970s. I'm not entirely sure how actually, I might have gotten that from you, Ogre. Someone was cleaning out their liquor cabinet. Anyway, yes, we will give that a try sometime. And yes. Oh, the other thing was, first of all, thank you all very much for showing up. I very much appreciate it. This show is so much better when I have you here. It makes it feel like, like I was saying, like, one of the parties and people that I want to talk to are here, and I love you all and thank you. Just because I've been told I need to start doing this, I'm going to type something in here, which is what did I do? Sorry. There it is. This is so that's the tip link is there. Booze is expensive. I need to replace my Cuisinart bowl because it's got a crack in it and that. Showing up is enough. Please never feel like you have to tip. If you want to, you can. If you're watching this on YouTube, I put up a link on the main page. There's a little tiny thing in the banner for my Ko-Fi page. If you want to toss me a couple bucks, that would be great. Please never feel like you have to. Times are rough for everyone right now. I feel guilty even asking, but I've been told I should start doing this. And so you can if you'd like. I honestly, just having everyone here was amazing. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Hopefully with something I'm a little more prepared for. Although this was, like I say, this was a great surprise. So hey, maybe I'll do more stuff that I've never tried before, and you get to see my shocked expression when it doesn't work out nearly as well as this one did. Anyway, thank you all. I'll see you soon.